Hi, my name is Dee Lanier, and I'm having a seat at the table with Wiley Brazier.
Come have a seat at the table. You've got a seat at the table. Let's have a seat at the table with Wiley Brazier.
Welcome everyone to a seat at the table. I am your host, Wiley Brazier V. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome, welcome, welcome. This show has three themes where we discuss education, technology, and entrepreneurship. I hope you find value in it and subscribe to listen to future episodes. For all the listeners that are returning, I am truly thankful to have you at the table with me once again, and I'm glad you're finding value in this show. Today, I have sitting at the virtual table with me is Dee Lanier. Hello, Dee. How are you, man?
I'm good, brother. You're a fifth. I didn't know that.
I am the fifth, man. It's a long legacy of Wiley's out there, man. You know, and just so you know, FYI, yes, there is a sixth.
Ooh.
Yeah. the legacy continues, man. The legacy continues, and you know,
y'all like Rocky,
man. look. Nobody told me to name my child it, and so I'm not telling him. You know, so it's not like I'm putting pressure on him. People ask, okay, is that pressure for you to name yours the sixth? And I was like, no, nobody told me. So you know, just is what it is. I just love my name, man.
That's what's up. That's good
stuff. So Dee, let me tell everyone a little bit about Dee. Dee is originally from Southern California. He is a socialist turned technologist.
Yo, you just messed that up. We might have to.
Oh man!
You try to get us all in trouble. What's happening?
I'm sorry.
I think I see a black car coming up to my house right now.
All right, so
I don't know if this thing is encrypted. What's happening?
Big Brother's watching, man. All right, so look, I'm sorry, everyone. We're having some fun on the show today. So he is originally from Southern California, and he is a sociologist.
There it is.
A sociologist turned technologist. All right, so Dee is also he is passionate and energetic educator and learner with over a decade of instructional experience on the K-12 and collegiate level. Dee holds an undergraduate and master's degrees in sociology with special interest in education, race relations, and inequality. Dee served at Crossroads Charter High School as a full-time vocational studies teacher, testing coordinator, and Title I director. Then he went on to become the technology catalyst for the lower school at Trinity Episcopal. He was also an executive director of a national nonprofit and a founding board member and tech coach at Charlotte Lab School. Dee is a Google certified trainer and innovator and specializes in creative applications for mobile devices and Chromebooks, low-cost makerspaces, and gamified learning activities. Dee is currently a program coordinator for EdTechTeam. You can find him on Twitter at Dee Lanier. Dee, sorry about that earlier, and welcome to the table again.
Appreciate it, brother. Thanks for having me.
So Dee, man, I know you have a wide variety of skill sets, man. I know you have some passions that have turned into projects and have done a whole lot of great things for educators across the country, man. One of the first things that I want to talk to you about is one of your projects is the Digital Learning Project. So it's DLP, right?
It's DLP. It's Dynamic Learning Project.
Okay, the Dynamic Learning Project. Can you tell me about the Dynamic Learning Project?
Yes, I can tell you that in many ways it's a brainchild of our mutual friend and my not only good friend but boss, Jenny McGarrah. And the Dynamic Learning Project is a partnership between the EdTechTeam, whom I work for, as well as Google for Education and Digital Promise. And we aim to bring equity in education via technology in a creative way. And the DLP really aims to solve what we call the second level of the digital divide. So if you're familiar with that terminology of the digital divide, typically um, is in relation to kids not having access to devices. Right? Fortunately, in many cases, schools, even schools with lower income populations, qualify for different fundings and are able to, receive grants and receive technology. So, kind of what you see across the country is just like this influx of technology, and schools having more technology that they even know what to do with. Like literally, they don't know what to do with it. And so, what the DLP aims to do is to help the teachers use that technology effectively in order to improve student outcome. And that is done via coaching. And so the DLP aims to support coaches who are supporting teachers who are obviously serving kids. And my role within the program is I'm a mentor. So I mentor 27 coaches across the country, most notably in Talladega County, Alabama, and Charlotte, North Carolina, which is also where I live.
Cool beans, man. So how did you end up in your current role and leaving? Because I know the last role you had was in Charlotte,
Yeah.
but how did you transition over to what you're doing now?
Yeah. Well, it was a little bit of a slow transition, or I should say a two-part transition. I first started, I was still working full time at Charlotte Lab. I love that school. I helped found it, helped establish some of the vision for it. I also got to work there. It's where my kids go to school. So I was in my happy space, right? And I got a phone call from Jenny, and she just said, "Hey, can we?" Or I got a message, "Can we talk?" And that talk turned into a telling me more about this. So my first role within the DLP was as a part-time mentor. So I was still working full-time within the school and part-time mentoring. And then I got another phone call another time, and it was, "Hey, this program is expanding. We're doing some other things. We would really love to have you join EdTechTeam." And that caught me off guard in a good way. I'd been doing contract work with EdTechTeam for 6 years at the time. Had known a lot of people, had been doing lots of stuff. The only thing that was problematic about it was the fact that school had just begun, but it was sort of like an exploding offer because the program was expanding and they needed someone, and because my name was I guess included as one of the people to come to. I had a deadline to kind of make that decision. So, literally took it to prayer and conversations and made that decision to go ahead and do that, which was originally tough to leave the classroom full time in order to do this work full time. But it didn't take long for me to love what I do.
That's cool, man. You're still serving teachers and serving
Yep.
education in a whole new realm.
Yep.
That's good stuff, man. So what have been with the DLP? What are some of the common, I don't want to say common, but some of the common trends that you see in schools or with teachers, or what is the issue that, as you're supporting coaches, that they see in schools and districts?
Yeah. Probably the lowest hanging fruit is people wanting to know, is there an app for that? Right? Like, just, is there an app that can do X, Y, or Z? And not slowing down, taking a pause, asking questions, considering, first, what is your primary challenge or what's your problem of practice? And then going down from there and then saying, okay, what are some tried and true strategies in order to effectively, go at that challenge? And then lastly, what are some tools that could be used as an option to help pull off that strategy? So just reverse engineering it instead of saying, hey, is there an app that can do this? Is there an app that can do that? Taking a step back, finding out what is the real thing going on, and then recognizing that technology is just a tool. That's it. It is a tool. It can be swapped out for a different tool if something's not working for whatever reason. The key thing is are we going at the main issue? And so identifying that, I would say that's it's probably number one for sure. And then I would say an advantage of the DLP is the fact that we provide this structure and this framework so that everyone kind of knows this is where we're going. Coaches are working with a set of teachers for 9 weeks, and within that 9 weeks, they have a cadence of meeting with the teacher, identifying their challenge, visiting their classroom, making observations, then meeting with the teacher again and discussing how those challenges can be rectified, and then identifying some strategies, and then another meeting to go into the classrooms trying to see that thing implemented, and then having another meeting face to face in order to talk about how that went. And that cycle. I'd say that when I was a tech coach for a few years, I wish I would have had that framework of this. This is my set of teachers. This is what I do within a set period of time. And then also if I had a tool like the DLP has a coaching dashboard in order to record all reflections as well as observations, and for data to be exported even. I mean, I wish I had all those things. So I would just say, clearly people coming in with a low level of understanding of how to use a tech coach. And then secondly, tech coaches finally having a framework and some resources to help them in their practice.
That's good stuff, man. So it sounds like DLP is actually helping them to set up a framework or put a system in place to be able to support the teachers in classroom with using technology. Is it just about the technology? I know you said technology is a tool, but does that framework, is it strictly dealing with technology, or is it just, tell me about like how that approach is?
Yeah, well, I would definitely never say it's just about the technology. The technology may in many ways be the entryway in for a coach in having conversations with the teacher. And then the technology is just a supplement or a tool to help pull off whatever strategy that's been identified. So the strategy is key. So whatever needs to take place. So let's just say, for instance, a common problem of practices is like, my kids are wilding out, like they're out of control. They're all over here. They're all over there. Is there an app that I can use in order to, help them, maybe give them incentives to chill out a little bit and reward them for what, for acting right? It's like, okay, I heard that. A few tools come to mind immediately, but let's back up. Let's hear some more. Let me ask, like, describe that problem in detail. Is this a particular class? Because sometimes it's something that's like, it's temporal, like it's right after lunch and my kids are that's the reason why, in comparison to, the hard truth that maybe a teacher just has poor classroom management strategies that they don't implement. So we're going to start there. We're going to talk about, classroom management, identifying what it is, identifying how we can utilize it best, and then saying, okay, what are some tools that could be used in order to help pull that off? Because the first tool that comes to mind may be a complete mismatch in comparison to what the issues are within that particular classroom.
Sounds good, man. So you're helping teachers to think more about the lessons that they're implementing and the way that they're implementing the lessons in the classroom. And I know that that's another one of your skill sets, is about this whole design thinking. It sounds like that's like where we're walking right into. So what is design thinking?
Every day is party time. I was the passion project director at Charlotte Lab School, and it was the way I taught my kids to think about or to remember the design thinking process. Or in other words, empathy. So first starting with how a problem affects someone else every day. So defining the problem clearly is, I mean, then ideate, think like, what are all the many ways you can solve this problem? Party. So then we're going to prototype, whatever that solution is, we're going to prototype it, put it together, and then test it. And then you're going to go try it and see if it works. And if it does, great. What modifications need to be made in order to improve it? If it completely falls flat, okay, why? Let's identify that problem and then go in that same cycle again. So that's in a nutshell the design thinking process. It's a 5-step process, very similar to the engineering process, similar to the scientific method. It's a 5-step process, starting point being broad and then ending very narrow and specific.
So what would you tell a teacher? It sounds like basically design thinking is appropriate for every day and every lesson. Like you said, every day is party time, right?
Right.
So, but what would you tell, or how would you encourage a teacher who may say, or when am I going to fit this in? Or I don't have time to, sit down and put more time into that whole process. Well, what would you say to them to get started? And how would you encourage them? Because one thing I know as working with tech coaches or tech coaches working with teachers, we have to, my philosophy is we have to try to remove all obstacles. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that we can get to the root of what the issue is, so that we can support the teachers, so that they can support students.
Yes.
And so sometimes you might hear, oh, I don't have time to do that, or what's the purpose for that? Or, why should I do that? So what would you say to a teacher, or how would you encourage a teacher as to the benefit, and, if they had that excuse?
Right. A couple of ways. Well, first of all, I would just start asking questions, right? So I typically have a mental Rolodex in my head of who, what, when, where, why, and how, like the 5 W's and an H, and try and think, if I'm in this conversation with someone, in this case, this teacher, who may or may not be familiar with design thinking process, who may also not be bought in on the design thinking process, and last but not least, not convinced that it's helpful for them. I just want to ask questions instead of telling them information. I want to ask questions, and I typically try and think of what are 3 good questions to ask in this moment. So I may say something like, so what's your biggest pain point? And then they tell me, what their biggest pain point is. And I may ask them a follow-up, like, how do you know that's your biggest pain point? And I just want them to critically think, when does this thing happen? So I'm just investigating and just trying to be a sleuth, if you will, and kind of hear what they feel. Because if they're really like, they write it off, it's not a big deal, well, then it's not a big enough deal to try and solve it. It's not really a problem then. But if they're willing to acknowledge that it's a serious deal, it's a big deal, it's worth their time to try and go at it, then the next question I might ask them is say, hey, are you willing to try something new? It's an exercise. We can do this in 9 minutes or less. Are you willing to try something? And if they say yes, that's when I pull out my personal passion project, which is SmashboardEDU, and kind of go through that process with them. We can do that in a quick version, just to see if we can think through their issue and come up with a solution within 10 minutes or less. And then say, all right, great, let's go try it, because they're the ones that answer all of those questions. They identify their solution. They say what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, and how they're going to go about it. And then all I'm there for is just to encourage them to say, all right, cool. Well, last question, when am I going to hear about this again? Something like that.
Yeah.
So I want them to be open to solving their problem and at least trying to discuss it in more detail within a 10-minute time frame. And if they're willing to do that, then we have progress. If they're not really willing to identify a problem at all, then yeah, we can't design think anything that's not a problem.
Yeah, one thing I try to make sure that teachers who always have or people who have an excuse, especially about time, is in the classroom. I try to ask them, well, how much time are you currently losing because
that's good.
of this?
Yep.
And then I think walking right into some of the other questions that you just mentioned would be very, very beneficial as well. So thank you for that. Sounds like, helping them to get some quick wins.
Yes, absolutely.
Help reinforce it.
And if it's too broad, then something that I may do is try and help them focus on one kid. And just say, like, who's one kid that you really just wish if you could turn them around, you would feel immediate reward. Like, who is that one kid? And so if it's too hard for them to think about themselves first, or if it's too broad for them to think about their entire classroom, or if they're, middle school or high school class, multiple periods and all that, then I just want them to focus in on one kid. Because I know that as a teacher, I always had my one kid, the one kid that, like, I brought home. That kid's hurt every day. And I brought home the struggle of trying to reach him. And so that just became my mission. I may teach, 70 some odd kids throughout the day, but if I could just reach, if I could finally break through to him, then everything would be better in life. So sometimes I do that.
So let me ask you this then. What is there a specific age group or subject area that is appropriate for design thinking? Or
that's a tough question. I think that it's not an issue of design thinking per se being age appropriate at a certain level, as much as it's the language that we use. So the answer is yes, you can use design thinking for any age group on any level. The question mark is what language will we use? We want to make sure the language we use is age appropriate. We want to make sure that examples we use are relatable. And we want to have expectations that whatever they produce is going to be on, their level versus if you have an older group. So I think that's all it takes, because if your aim is to make the process itself simple, but allow for creativity in the solution, you don't want anything to get in the way of that. So anything that gets in the way of people understanding what they're supposed to do, you should fix that, right? That's what I've learned even in design thinking, my own design thinking game. Lots of things having to be fixed because the recipient is confused. And that's a hang up. It's like, you understanding these instructions was not what this was supposed to be about. This is about you producing something externally. So if the instructions aren't clear enough to you, then I need to modify the instructions. So that's all it takes, I think, with making it appropriate for kids. I wouldn't use a word like ideate with a group of third graders, for instance. And I don't think it's worth the time or trouble to explain to them or define what that word means. It's like, what does ideate mean? We need to come up with as many ideas as possible. Then just say that, right? It's not necessary for that age group to have a new vocabulary word that's not even age appropriate or expected of them, even within like their English language class, right? So why am I introducing that to a group of kindergartners? What's the purpose?
Yes. Knowing your audience.
Yep.
Knowing your audience and knowing your kids. So I heard you talking about them producing, being more producers than just consumers.
Yep.
And so I had a lady to ask me this question that I want to ask you. Okay. And we were talking about thinking about the lesson and how they, what is the purpose of, we were actually talking about homework.
Yeah.
It was more of, okay, why are you giving this homework? what is the purpose of this homework? And so, when we talk about creating, she asked me, well, what is the difference between design thinking and project-based learning?
So I wouldn't make a dividing line between those two, to be completely frank.
Okay.
I would say that project-based learning can utilize the design thinking process in order to produce a unique project.
Yes.
They are not opposed. It is a process that you can use in order to actually produce a product. I do make a distinction between problem-based learning and project-based learning. In that project-based learning in many ways does not necessitate that you start with a problem or a real challenge. It could be imaginative. It could be replication of something that exists. It could be an adaptation of something that exists. It does not necessarily mean that you start with a problem. So the design thinking process, because I guess now here I am talking myself into a circle. Because the design thinking process starts with empathy, it assumes that there is a problem that affects someone else that you need to get to know and understand before you produce something for them. Another way to understand design thinking is it's also called human-centered design, right? This was produced for people, so we need to understand what's the mentality of people, what are the habits of people, and if people can't do it or do it easily, then how can we fix that? So design thinking can be used for project-based learning, but not all project-based learning demands it. Because some projects are, hey, we want you to create this, ecosphere for animals and and we haven't even asked the question, like, is this a problem? Who does it affect? Why is it important? Things like that.
Cool, man. I like that explanation. I like that. So that leads me right into your passion project of SmashboardEDU. So can you tell, for those people who have never heard of Smashboard, what is it?
So it's the design thinking process, which we were just talking about, and problem-based learning, which we were also just talking about, smashed into a gamified experience. So it's gamified. It's not necessarily a game per se, because calling something a game typically means like it's something that you're going to play for extended time, and that there's like all these little rewards throughout it, and there's a game, or excuse me, there's a reward at the end, or there's something that claims like I win. And I love games. I play games, but gamification means I'm going to take game-like elements and apply it within this activity. So it is the design thinking process, but it's starting with a problem, and then it's going through that process with reframed language in order to produce a creative solution to this problem. And you're using cards, and the cards have certain steps that you follow, and there's one kind of like get out of jail free card called the SOS card that also makes that process a little bit fun. And I like to not only put time limits, but like have visible timers and like intense music or thinking music during it, so that it kind of just sets the whole ambiance like a game show, right? So I'm just, again, bringing in as many game-like elements, but whatever the students produce is going to be unique, because they are going to wrestle through the questions in order to come up with their own solution.
So it sounds like it is a platform to help teachers with the design thinking process and to make their lessons more engaging and rigorous.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that you use that word rigorous, because we don't typically associate rigor with fun. like they're two separate things, unfortunately, in classrooms. And I'm like, here's something that'll get you. Like, what if learning was a byproduct of having fun?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I learned lyrics to a song because I like the rhythm.
Yes. So we need more. We need more edutainment in the classroom, man.
Yes, and I would say, because I already know, like, some of your listeners, they're gonna say edutainment, so I'm supposed to get up there and tap dance in front of kids and and I would say,
No.
make them producers, right?
Yeah.
Like, so even using the music analogy, don't just allow them to listen to music, make them, give them the skills so that they can produce their own music, right? So bring in the elements from your content, and then bring in the things that we know that they enjoy, and allow them to produce something that you, even as skilled and as gifted as you are as a teacher, you would not even imagine to have created, or in some cases been able to create yourself. Like, I want to every day, I want to come in for the entertainment factor. If I want to be real with you, like, I want the kids to blow my mind and me go, whoa, what did you just do there? And I don't want to have, pre-produced what I think that they should then just be able to replicate. Cause that's just another tirade of mine. Like, that's literally just puzzle solving. It's not problem solving. Puzzle solving. There's a clear definable solution, and it goes about in this certain way, and your job is to use your creative thinking in order to put it all together, in order to do it. And I think that's skill building, and I think that's amazing, but I don't think that's problem solving, because problem solving says this problem exists and people have not figured out how to solve it. I got to think out of the box in order to do that.
So is there a website or something for it? I want to
absolutely.
So go ahead and give everyone the website for Smashboard.
SmashboardEDU.com.
Give it to them one more time.
SmashboardEDU.com. Real important to SmashboardEDU.com, because if you just like Google search Smash Boards, you're going to see that there's like some Super Smash Brother forum thing out there, and be like, I know you said it was gamification, but what the heck is this? So that smashing problems in the education setting, and you can find that at SmashboardEDU.com.
Man, so I pulled up your website here, man. It's a very nice website. Love the flow and everything, man. And down here at the bottom, I know that there's cards. So Can you tell me two things? Tell me about the cards.
Yep.
And then I see they have like the apps, creative apps and whatnot listed on the website. Give the audience a little bit about those two things, the cards and the creative apps out of there.
Cool. So the cards are the physical cards, the 5 steps of SmashboardEDU that have question prompts on the back. They're really high quality cards. They're color coded. They kind of remind you where you are in the process. Also includes the SOS card, which can be used not only for SmashboardEDU, but in any small group activity. You can pull out that card. So those are the cards of SmashboardEDU. And that's the process. And it was set up so that you can conduct SmashboardEDU completely analog if you want, or you can blend it with technology, or you can go all in with the tech, right? But that's the reason why the card, like, give them cards, give them paper, give them access to whatever other resources they may need, and then let them go. But then if you do choose to go digital, some of the things that I learned from interacting with teachers as well as students was, it's like they wanted suggestions for certain applications that could be used in order to pull off this crazy idea that they have, right? I'll even say, and I'll give it via example. There's a video at the top of the website. A problem that I had right before the website going out was lots of people actually had said, could there could you produce a video, just something that's just a short explainer of what SmashboardEDU is? And I was going back and forth, like I was like recording myself, I was doing voice stuff. It's kind of going through all these sort of things. And then I learned about a particular website application called Biteable. And I was like, this looks cool. Tried it out and then put it together. And that became my main promo video. So through the process of SmashboardEDU, I recognized that I needed to create this explainer, and I was able to kind of figure out exactly what it would say on it. But then the particular tool that I would use in order to produce it, I ended up choosing from an array of video-based apps. And so if you were to go to that directory is full, man. It's 125, I think, currently, different applications that could be filtered by, different creation types, even like difficulty, things like that. So if you just go to that website just to try and find new applications, have fun with that, literally. But I would warn educators that are using SmashboardEDU to choose what applications you allow your students to use and when you allow them to use them. Because if you just kind of give them this whole directory of 125 different apps, next thing you know, they're off of the process of problem solving, and now they're just exploring and having fun, which isn't bad, but at the expense of the main purpose of why you had them doing this activity in the first place, right? So I would say introduce applications one at a time, give them opportunity to play and to learn them, and then give them opportunity to choose from those applications that they're familiar with in order to produce something. So I've given that disclaimer for the sake of every educator out there. Please give them time to play, explore, and then choose from something that's familiar.
All right, everyone. He's given the disclaimer, so you cannot fault SmashboardEDU for anything that comes out getting your kids with play. So I really like on the website how you have it also able to be filtered by the type of device.
Yes.
And even the creation type. So if they are going to be doing something with video, there's resources there. If they're going to be doing AR, augmented reality, virtual reality, coding. I mean, it's a really user-friendly site. I really like that. And definitely I would also echo your sentiment of having the teachers to be able to give some guidance with some of the apps and the time of when they're going to be using those. This is great work, man. This is great work. So they can order cards directly from the website and everything, correct?
Yep, and they will ship from EdTechTeam. And right now we're doing an introductory sale. I mean, they've been live now for less than a week. Multiple sales has been pretty cool, and seeing how teachers are already using them in the classrooms. But yeah, there's a sale right now for $15.99, and we're already talking updates and expansions. So if you scroll down at the bottom of the site, you can see that their expansion mods, is like to call them, or add-ons. So we got a lot of stuff cooking there.
Sounds good, man. So anytime we have people over at the table, man, we always talk about everything, their passions and the professional things, but then we also try to get to know them personally as well, man. So right. At this time, we're going to kind of transition into that piece. And so if you could tell me what would constitute a perfect day for you.
Ooh. Okay, well, it's got to start with excellent coffee. Like, don't bring me Starbucks and think that that's excellent coffee. Sorry, I'm not trying to hate on everybody who loves Starbucks out there, but I need some excellent roasted, not over roasted, pour over coffee. So it's going to start there. Something that I'm going to do that. I'm going to get in the word a little bit. I may even have to do some yoga to relax, to get everything flowing. So my day, the perfect day, starts off quiet and slow. And then if it could be sunny outside, that's always a plus. Even if I got to work inside, man, just to be able to know that it's bright and sunny outside.
Yeah.
And just to keep it general a little bit, I would say being able to interact with people, no matter what I'm doing, no matter what projects I'm working on, having the ability to interact with multiple people and to throw ideas at them and get their feedback, just to feel like I'm collaboratively designing something. Even if there's, like I said, a full plate of activities, even if there's projects with a tight deadline, give me people or give me death. Right? And then, I'm going to say at the end of the work day, because I actually love work. So notice my perfect day isn't like just a vacation day. My perfect day would be, working. But, after the kids are home, after spending some time with them, they get some childcare, and me and the wife go out on a date and get some fantastic grub, like some upper class bougie pub food. That's what I want. I want bougie pub food.
Cool.
I want chicken and waffles served on a skewer with a maple butter, and it's all designed in some artistic way. That's what I want.
That's nice, man. That's nice. So let me ask you this: if you could wake up tomorrow having gained one quality or ability, what would it be and why?
That one's actually kind of easy. I wish I had the ability to get what's the equivalent of a full 7 hours of sleep in a 15-minute nap. I want to be able to I want a power nap to be, man, I'm good, because my mind is always racing. And I always have lots of ideas and things that I want to accomplish and want to pull off, but feels like there's never enough time to meet all the deadlines, as well as allow that space for creativity to happen. So I wish I could operate on a whole lot less sleep and just get it done.
Cool beans, man. So I know you're talking about having more time and trying to get some of these future goals and things of that nature accomplished. So what's your next objective, or what are some of your goals for the future?
Okay. Well, I'll say this. I'll give a spoiler alert and say that SmashboardEDU is an equity project, and though it may or may not come across clearly as such immediately, I hope that it does. I hope it's one of those things that's caught, not necessarily taught, and that wait a minute, even if we don't buy the cards, there's DIY. If we do buy the cards, I'm able to outfit my entire classroom with this set. So it's affordable. So there's that aspect. Any applications that are used are cross-platform. So it doesn't matter if I'm, allegiant to Apple or to Android, whatever it may be, I can do that. So I hope some of those things come across. But if you like to explore some of the mods that are in there, you'll see some language translations that are coming. You would see the cultural competency whole section there. I would love to see SmashboardEDU utilized for having deep discussions on social justice, to be completely frank. I would love to see, students producing things and making, having presentations, in a model UN style and things like that. So my hope would be to build expansion packs that are extremely relevant to what kids are feeling and experiencing, that can also correlate with what they're getting from a classroom content perspective.
Man, that's some big goals there, man. That's good stuff, and that's very worthy. And it can definitely be accomplished because I really see the value in SmashboardEDU, and I hope everyone that's listening goes out and takes a look at it. Like I said, even if you don't order the cards, but there is great value in helping kids to be able to become producers and not just consumers.
Absolutely.
So before we get, can you either tell us a joke
Oh,
or give us a quick story? Anytime we come to the table, we're eating, we always tell stories and then jokes. So before we go, you are included. You're not going to get off the hook. I want you to give me either a quick joke or a story, a quick story. And it can be from your experience as an educator or in general, but either one, quick joke or a story.
Man, see, this is one of those questions that you think about later and say, man, I should have told them this. No jokes come to mind immediately, man. I mean, I have twins. They make me laugh every day. But I guess a story. All right, I'm gonna go deep. This will be serious on you. But thinking about all right, so I took my daughter to this birthday deal recently, and I didn't realize that it was as far out from my house as it was. And so I'm having to like hang around in this part of town, and there's like no real place to work and blah, blah, blah. And then the temperature started dropping and it got cold. So then I was like, man, I need a sweater or a hoodie or something. Yeah. So then I went into a Salvation Army and found a hoodie.
Yeah.
And I was like, whew, perfect. $6, I'm good, because I just needed to be warm for the next hour or so. But then the mental consternation that I went through about that hoodie was crazy. Like literally, so the lady at the front, she was like, here's your receipt. Do you want a bag or do you want to just wear it out? And I was like, oh, cool. I just want to wear it out. And then I started thinking about how I look to others wearing this hoodie from Salvation Army on the way out. And then being a man of color, then walking through the parking lot and me thinking, should I put my hood on or not? Like, I got a baldy. I'm freezing. I bought this thing to keep me warm, but I am literally afraid to be profiled and mistyped. And so then I was like, man, this was the most expensive hoodie I've ever bought. It was $6, but because of the neighborhood I was in and because of all of that internal anguish, I was messed up. So when I finally went back in for the party thing, I just felt the sense of relief that I could unzip the jacket, take the hood off, and not feel that somebody might fear me just because I'm wearing a hoodie and I'm a black man walking through a parking lot. Man, so not too funny, not a funny story.
Yeah, you went deep there, man. That's a good lesson, though. That's a good life lesson. That's a good lesson for everyone that needs to that they need to hear. There are conversations that some people don't necessarily want to be a part of, but they need to be had and they need to be heard and need to be facilitated. So I'm glad that you were able to give us that perspective. So any last thoughts or parting words for everyone before we go, man?
Man, I would just say I would love to interact with anyone. Those who hear me on your pod, obviously tag you. I think you're a great brother. I appreciate you, brother. But if you tag me, I would love to have an open discussion even about anything communicate on this. Dynamic learning, project design thinking, problem-based learning, SmashboardEDU, race and inequality, whatever. Hit me on Twitter. Would love to have that discussion.
Most definitely. So speaking of hitting you on Twitter, where can people go to learn more about you, DLP, Dynamic Learning Project, SmashboardEDU? Let's just get some contact information out there.
Sure. Well, all right. So this one's a joke. When I see people see old buddies from high school, whatever, and then they're like, man, I haven't been able to get in contact with you, man. Where you been? I'm like, first of all, I have the same cell phone number from jump. I've never had a different cell phone number. Number two, there's this thing called Google, and I've worked kind of hard to make sure that I'm in the top results. So DEE This is my first name, last name Lanier, and literally that'll hit you on, oh, this is his website, this is where he's at on Twitter, this is the dynamic learning project and his role there. Oh, this is SmashboardEDU. And so I'm not being facetious when I say literally, if you can't remember or keep up with anything, just know my name and Google it and you'll find me.
Cool beans, man. Well, look, Dee, thank you for having a seat at the table with me today and sharing your time, talents, and treasure with me and the world, man. To everyone tuning in, thank you for participating in this conversation. And like a home-cooked meal, I hope this show has nourished your body and your mind. So until next time, with me, you will always have a seat at the table. Thank you again, Dee.
Thank you, brother.